Okay, that's nice. Yeah, okay. Just to recap, my name is Mustapha Abdullahi. I'm a doctoral student at Alto University, and it's like a pleasure to meet all of you here. So in this particular session, I'll go over like part of the assignment in which you've been given and discuss like some solution to it, and also just also highlight some key details which is important in your Git journey, and as you continue at Ariwa Data Science, that'll be helpful for you and probably later in your career. And yeah, so we're discussing like mostly on Git, but just feel free to hit me with any questions on Git or anything related to that. So I guess maybe afterwards, so I'll just like go through the steps one step at a time, then explain some fundamentals and other maybe few additional things. So in this assignment, you are required to majorly like create a GitHub account and maybe set up a GitHub repository on your account, then like push pull and understand what like how version control works with Git. So I'm assuming like for creating an account, it's like relatively easier for everyone in general. So I would assume like everyone have their own account, but just feel free to like stop me at any point if you feel like there's something I skipped that you might want to understand more on. So I think one of the first tasks here is on creating your GitHub account here. So my assumption is everyone has created their accounts. So then the next account is, let's say you have an account, you have like an ID or username from like the GitHub page in which you could log in, either from the GitHub CLI or on the GitHub like graphical user interface. Then what you need to do next is if you're using Git on your local machine, so first you need to like configure like the Git. So you need to tell it like how it should operate, who you are, and what it should do with your like code once you try to like pull or push or make any any manipulation of your file system. So you kind of run this command, which is git config. So this is like you tell it to configure some kind of details based on your own information. So you set like your username, and here you'll be setting your email account. So we'll just try to do that as quick as possible. So since this is my own account, so I will just like git config, then global here, then user name, then put in like name I want. So why this is also important is like once you make some kind of operation on GitHub, so anyone seeing what you did, let's say you made a push request or pull request, so they'll definitely like see your name and to be like some kind of signature of your account. So that's when you do that. So one thing to notice is for this global here, what you're telling it's like for the entire, for anything like Git sees on your entire laptop or your entire system you're using, so it should use this like username and maybe your email. But if you take out this global here, it's going to use it only in like the repository, that's where I am here, or the folder I am in here. So if I take out this global, so this name and also email will be only valid under this repository. So, but if you use global anywhere on your laptop, so you don't need to like set this over and over again. So yeah, done. So we just run this and also git config global email. Then I put in like my email address. So let's say I have this email address here. So I put that in. So you are done for step 2 here. So the next step, you are required to like go to your profile and create a repository with this name here. So I'll just copy it for easy access. Then I would head to my GitHub page. Then you could see here in this particular panel, there's like new. Then you could like click on it and you create the repository you want to create, and it's telling me it's available. So it's available because I don't have like similar repository name. If you want, you could put in these details, maybe Ariwa ES project. So you can put in any short description you want. Then as required, you set it as, let me see, that's required, you set it as, yes, you could set it as private or public depending on what you want. So if it's private, it's only set in your account. But if it's public, anyone can see it as far as they have the link or access to it. And since people, if it's private, since no one can see it, so they can't contribute to it, except if you invite them into the project. So as required by the assignment, you have to set up README and also like git ignore. So for the git ignore, you select like Python for that. So before we move forward, do you know what a README file is or a git ignore file is? So if you know, you can just quickly type maybe next few, within 1 minute on the chat. So, Or if you want to explain, you can just you can unmute your mic and feel free to tell us what README or Git ignore is. Yeah, so I want it to be as interactive as possible. So I can see no. Okay. So I will just explain to you now. So README is more of like, yes.
Okay.
Yes, someone wants to speak. Feel free. Yes, please. Damilare.
Okay, for the README, I would say README is a kind of markdown type of file that you can use to passing probably comments to your repository.
Okay, nice. Nice.
Yeah, but for the Git ignore,
Okay.
I need more explanation, but Git ignore is what you want. You want your you want Git to ignore like some files that you don't want to appear in public. But
Okay.
I want to share more light on that.
Okay, nice. That's super cool. Yeah. So I think I'll just hear that. Thank you so much, Damilare. So I will hear more from Mujahid. Please, if you could, yeah, go for it, please.
Yes, sir. So from my own end, I think README is more like an avenue where you can be able to add a text or, for example, document something and then come back and make sure to make some additions or to track the changes you have made so far throughout the period of usage.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you so much. So I think for tracking, yeah, for the first one, for the README, that's for Mujahid. It's like 100% correct. And thank you so much, Damilari and Mujahid. Thank you so much for your input. So I'll just quickly like go over it. So README, correct, it's like a markdown file. And simply, I would just say it's like a documentation page. It's just a text page in which anyone coming into your code, that's like one of the first things they will see, like what you did for that particular project. So they see some kind of description of that project. So you could give like some short overview. This is what my project is about. This is how to install these packages. This is how to go about this, because some projects can get super tricky and people can't use them. So they look at your README. So your README file, it kind of displays what the project is about. So I will just quickly show you some maybe README that I have for a few of my repositories. So hopefully maybe you could understand, or we could, oh, okay, 1 minute, let me just see. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is, let's say, one of an old project. So you could see I have like a README file. So here I describe what the project is about. So, and maybe some illustration. And I say like, this is how I install the package. So everything here stems from this README file. So correct, it's a markdown file. So anyone that wants to like work on the project or want to see what you did, then they just read over it and have better idea of the project. So it helps a lot for people. So it's always good to like, after you're done with the project or when you are also building the project, iteratively add a README file. So, and the last one is like Git ignore, because most times once you are working, you work in a folder and your code or might be generating some files in which you don't want to be added to like this repository. Either it's too large or it's too much. So you want like Git not to like process those files, not to do version control on those files. So it can be like some kind of logs or some kind of like data sets, maybe reaching gigabytes. So you don't want Git to handle it. Then you add it into this Git ignore file. So I'll just show you a sample of like Git ignore. Let me see. So let's see here. I don't think, let me see if they have some Git ignore. Yeah, so here they have some Git ignore. So you can see here, there are some particular files here. They are telling like GitHub to ignore. So once Python or once your Git sees any file relating to this or this like regex, so it like ignores it. So you can't push or pull it. So it just ignores it. So it's like better for the project. So it makes the project less complicated. So that's like more of like a simplistic overview of README and Git ignore. So as required, you create a Git ignore with Python. Then you could also add a license, but that's something extra. I won't go into that. Then you are done. Then you create the repository. So in a few seconds, I have a new repository, AriwaDS Fellowship, and it has like the README and Git ignore. So we'll move to the next step. So the next step, we've done this. We've created a new repository. So the next step is to clone your repository to your local machine. So what we did here is majorly we created a new repository, but this is online. This is like on a server on GitHub. So what you want to do is like bring it to your own local machine. So what you need to do in that particular case is you need to clone it. So you have this like URL, that's some website in which you could use, and you could like copy the website. Then what you do is like try to run the command git clone. So what it does, it like creates a copy of like that repository. So it's essentially like a folder into your local machine. So that's your laptop. So you can see it's like cloning it, and what you do, you can see a new folder here with like the same name, Ariwa DS Fellowship, and you could check if it's actually there. You can see it has created the repository for us. So or we have brought the repository from online, now it's local on our machine. Then we could work with it locally on our machine. So that's the next step, and we are done with that. So please just feel free, if you have any questions, you can always type in the chat so I can stop and answer your questions before moving forward. So next, what you...
Okay, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry for the interruptions, please.
Yeah, no worries.
Can you please show to the fellow the document that is created in the desktop, please?
Okay, that makes sense.
The one that we planned so that they can get.
Okay, thank you so much. So yes, so after like cloning the repository, so it comes along with like the, so you remember we ticked git ignore and readme, so it created these files for us. So after we cloned it, so it's on our local, so you can click on it and you could see a few things. So it has created a new file. So anywhere it sees these particular files, so it ignores them. So you don't send them like remotely. Now these files are, let's see, one of these files appear locally. So once you do git push to the remote repository of GitHub, so you don't send this file. So it's like directly ignores it. It assumes it's not there. So that's it. So this for git ignore, and this is like the file for readme. So this is essentially a markdown file. So this hash is just denoting like heading number 1. So with you have this really cool feature if you are using, what's the name? VS Code. So you could see like the preview of this. So yeah, so I think that's, so this is like the files you have now. So the next step is, so you have this file, so you are required to edit the README file and add some description, then maybe name or your bio. So I'll just add something short for description. So let me see, this is my, so yes, yeah, okay. Let me just say project here. Then maybe I'll just put my name. So you can put in anything, any information needed as required. And yes, so after that, you save. So you've added like a new information to your README file. So what you need to do is, so yes, so one important command when using Git or GitHub, so it's like you always want to check the status, what's happening. So remember we pulled from like the remote, that's from GitHub to our local machine, and we made some changes. So there's this special command called GitHub status. Oh, okay. Okay, so I need to go into the folder. So you could see I'm using this VS Code, so it kind of highlights me what branch I'm in now. So it tells me it's like on main branch, but we'll come into details of that later. So there's this command you could use, which is Git Status. So it tells you like the status of what's happening on your Git. So maybe if you do an operation, so it tells you what's happening. So it's telling me here, it's like, I've modified this file. What's this file? That's the README. This was the file I was asked to modify, so I've modified it. So this Git status tells me like the current status of my local repository, and it compares it with, it also like tells me how it compares with the one that's on remote, that's on GitHub. So it always helps you like every time just do git status, Git status, Git status. So it helps you like keep track of what's happening so that you don't mistakenly do some kind of operation that will be very expensive to reverse. So, but with Git, it's like quite convenient to like do operations, and you can go back due to like the tracking system of Git, which makes it like really convenient. So you could like go back at any timestamp you want. So you could see we have modified like the README file. then what you are needed to do is like commit those changes. Then yes, you need to commit those changes and push to your remote. So when you want to commit, so the idea of committing is, let's say you worked on something new, so you want to add it to a staging, they call it staging area. So anything that is within the staging area, it's like what your Git will push to your GitHub. So now after making this change to my README, it's still local on my machine. So I need to add it to a staging area. That's where you need like Git add. So you add, like, let me see. So you do kind of Git add, then you put in the name of the file or repository. So now I've added it to the staging area. So as advice, you could do like Git status. So once you do Git status, just 1 minute. So yes, so once you do Git status, you can see from below. So it's a bit below here. So you could see what's telling me. So you could see this has changed from like red to green. So it's showing me, it's just showing me that I've moved this to a staging area. So anything that is in the staging area, it means it can be like committed and it can be pushed to, what's the name? It can be pushed to your GitHub, which is remotely. So what we want to do next is to commit. So yes, we've added this file. So next we want to commit, and we use this git command as git commit. Then you add the message of your Git. Maybe I'll say, so it can be anything you want, but try as much as possible for it to be descriptive, edited, readme.md. So you could see here, it's telling me towards the end, it's telling me like, I've changed one file with 3 insertions, 1 deletion. So yeah, etc., etc. So you could also like do Git status to see what's happening. You could see like everything has like disappeared. So what you have here now, it's telling you your branch is ahead of origin main by 1 commit. So I will briefly describe what this origin means. So this origin is your remote repository. That's the one on your GitHub. So yeah, don't worry, I'll come to this later, but just feel free to interrupt if there's anything you don't understand. Oh, okay, I think I can explain it now. So your origin is like what's on your GitHub. You know, you are working with like 2 different systems now. You have this here locally on your machine, and you have something remotely that's on GitHub. That's what you created. So after making changes here, you want to push what you have locally to what you have remotely on GitHub, so that it's there and it's safe for you. So it's always important, because anything can happen to your laptop. God forbid, so it can get stolen or something bad can happen. So it's always good that after making some changes, then you push, or if you are working in a collaborative setting, after doing something additional, then you can push so that someone would see, this person have done like really good work. So then what you do is like push. But before I push, I want to show you what actually is this origin. Okay, let me just do git push origin, then main. So here, this command, what it's telling is like, I want you to push the changes that I've done, the changes that are in staging area, which is the new readme here, into origin under branch. So I'll come over what's origin here. But after doing this, you could see it like does some maybe compression, then it sends like the changes you've done into like the remote GitHub. So here we could just quickly inspect what we have remotely on our GitHub repository if we have something new. So you see the changes I've made into my README has reflected. So you can see it here, which is good. So that means we are done with this step. So practice, so you could add more files or add more changes, then try to push or commit. So quickly, I'll show you like what you have, what actually is origin, and then maybe go over, I think there are some questions on the chat. So once you do like this git remote -v, so you could see this origin here is nothing but like the address, that's the remote address of the repository online on Git. So that's like, so that's remote. So you're telling it like to push the changes that you've made into like this address here of Git and under the main. So that's essentially is what your origin is. So you can see origin and be confused what's origin, but that's like your origin. So I think I'll just quickly check the chats for if there are anything I missed. So Okay, I think there's one question which is like, where do we, I'll read the question, but if I miss anything, just feel free to maybe interrupt me. So there's one question, where do we type the Git clone? So a Git clone is on your batch CLI. So I'm assuming at one point you were required to install some like Linux distribution or some package on Windows so that you could have some CLI on Windows. So what you do is on your CLI. Thank you, Awal, for answering the question. That's on your CLI. So there's like another question from Imrana. In the VS Code, where do you paste the code you copied from GitHub? So yes, you do it on your CLI. So there's like the command line also on what's the name? On VS Code. So let me see. So you have something like this. So you have like this terminal here on VS Code. So you can like type anything you want on VS Code and your Git. But make sure you have your Git installed and maybe follow if there are some pre-steps of some installation, and make sure you do that. Okay, I think Shamsuddin have answered, and let me see. So there's another question of, I'll just quickly answer some few questions, but maybe then go over it so that we can finish on time. What is the importance of license? So license, imagine you're a company and you wrote a code and maybe that code will be shared. So license protects you from maybe some entities, maybe someone using your code or someone using your code for some financial, maybe you created a code and someone wanted to use it and make some money. So maybe you are against that. So with license, it helps a lot. So it helps protect your software at some level. So there are different kinds of licenses, but I honestly don't know much about them. So how their distinction is. So quickly, we just move over, but I'll come over your questions. So if I miss anything, just let me know. So the next part is creating a branch. So in GitHub, like there is the concept of branching. So once you remember, just like a tree, you have branches, like you start from the root, then you create like branch. So what the idea of branching is, you want to create some kind of different, let's see, you want to create, let me see. Yeah, you want to create some kind of new feature, like new feature into the code base you have. So you can create a branch for several reasons. So you can create a branch so that you want to try something new entirely. So that's the idea of like creating a branch on your code. So here you're being asked to like create a branch. So you just like copy this code for creating a branch called feature hello world. So I want to create a new, okay, let me just take this out. So I'll just clear this. So we could just paste this. So this command like encapsulates a lot of things, but we'll just run it so that you could see that it works first. Then I'll explain bit by bit what it is. So notice like, okay, first you can see like the comment here, switch to a new branch. So here what it does, it creates a new branch for me, then it switches for me to a new branch. So you could, okay, yes. So with checkout here, so what checkout means is you want to move or jump to another new branch. So that's checkout. So the -b command here, it means you want to create this new branch, which is like feature hello world. So there is some hand by Hidayah. Feel free, yes.
Yes, sir, I have a question, please.
Yes, please.
The branch, is it the branch of our repository,
Yes.
or branch from our main?
Okay, so like the concept of branch is, let me see. Just 1 minute. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So like the concept of branch is, let's say you have your repository here, bah? So it starts off with like a main here. Then once you create a branch, so you have this like different pathway here with maybe let's say feature here. So what happens is your code still stays in branch, but you can continue like editing and adding more things over and over again. Then you have this like different branch, which has like the same files with like main here, but here you could add like different stuff. You could add different stuff here differently. So it's like still your repository, everything's under your repository. So you start off with main. So if you want to create some kind of new fancy, maybe algorithm or new feature, so or new thing to your code, then you could like create a new branch from the main and keep adding like those things here and here and here. So it's still like under your repository. So imagine your repository is like a tree, a single tree. So your branches are like, you have this main, which is like relatively longer or stronger branch. Then you could have like some more different branches like stemming up from the tree. So that's like the idea. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's still under your repository.
Yes, understood, sir. Thank you.
Yes, okay, that makes sense.
Please, sir, can we
Okay.
refer to our branch as a subfolder?
Not really. It's not a subfolder because you could say it's like, how will I put it? It's like some kind of like virtual copy of your repository, but has like different version. So imagine you have, let's say, this folder of, I don't know, let's say movies, for instance, and you have like maybe some categorization of American movies, Indian movies, and the rest. Then you wanted to create a branch. So I would say like the idea of the branch is more of like you copy the entire folder into another different location, then you make changes to that. Maybe you like some like comedy series, then you add the comedy series, but it's like totally like different, but they are connected in some way. So where they are connected, it's like where the point in which you created the branch from, like from the main, you created it from like some part. Okay. Okay, yes.
Okay. Yeah, there is a link in the chat. Can you share it with them so that we can?
Okay. Yes, let me see. Just 1 minute. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so like as Dr. is explaining about branch. So for example, let's assume that you are in a team of 10 people working on a particular software and you are working on the same code. So if Mustapha and I are working on the same software and I don't want to work on direct copy of the software so that I will mess up with the original code. So what I want to do is when I clone the GitHub repository, can you see here we have the master or main, then I will create what is called branch. Can you see new branch, right? So in this new branch, I will ideate. I will try my new ideas, touch the code, make some changes. When I make changes and I make sure that everything is good, then I will, create a pull request. A pull request is that I'm telling Mustapha that, hey, my branch, I create some branch and I added some features and everything works fine. And then I make full request. Full request is telling Mustapha, can you merge my branch to the original master? So when the branch is merged to the original master, the new feature I work on now is merged with master. So that means a branch is, you can see, is kind of, as they said here, independent line of development typically used to develop new features without disturbing the rest of the repository. Can you see that? So if there is no branch, you work on the master. For example, you have software or website that is live and I'm working on the master and I make some crazy mistakes and I push everything. The moment I push everything, then the website will be down. So in order to avoid that kind of scenario, the best thing, everyone in a team will create his own branch, add some features, then he will ask to the member, hey, I finished everything, merge my features to the new master. Then the guy who is matching will check sure everything works fine, everything okay, then he match. So when the moment the branch is matched, then the new features has been added. I don't know, Mustapha, if or what I added also makes sense.
Yes, I think it's very perfect, sir. Very well explained. Thank you so much for the additional point. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, yes. So, yes, that's super good. And okay, thank you, sir. Yes, so I guess so. Just like continue on that. So here you have like created a new branch. So you could see like for, I don't know, it's likely maybe your editor or your command line might show this feature, but like if you're using VS Code, it shows you like you have this main, but you don't need to use VS Code. You could use any tool of your convenience that you want. So you could see it has like moved to this hello world. So this like command like encapsulates two commands. So first you are creating like a branch and you are like, they call it checkout. So you enter into that branch because initially we are at main. So you could see we have like moved from main into like hello world. But assuming you would want to create a new branch. So what the command like it's just git branch, then you have like the name of your maybe new branch here. So I'm just putting it just so that you see it, and just in case in the future you just want to create and maybe you don't use it immediately. So this is how you could do that. So let's say we have created a new branch and we want to check like what branches we have existing. So you could do like git branch, and you could see we have two branches. We have one which is main, and you have another extra one which we just created, which is like this feature hello world, which is like what we'll be working on from henceforth. So we'll just go back to like the exercise. And so we've created a new branch and we've checked out. So what next you are created is like to create a new Python file, hello world, and maybe add this printing statement. So I'll just quickly do that. So any way you create the file is fine. So if you use CLI to create the file or anything, so it's totally fine. So what we are required to do is like to print this statement here. And yes, you save. So remember, like where you created this file is under this feature. It's like a new feature, a new kind of some new thing to your code. And it's under this feature hello world. So it's not under main. So you won't see it under main. You can only see it in this particular branch. So you could see like we have this new file here. So remember your Git status. So you could see you've added like a new file, but it's untracked. So you might need to do like git add, then commit it before you push it to before you push it to your GitHub or your remote. So first, after making changes to a file, what you need to do is do git add, which is like git add the file you added here, then you do git commit, then put in like some message, maybe new, maybe feature, maybe depending anything you want to do. So, but just make sure it's descriptive. So, but here I'm just putting anything from the top of my head. So you could see here, we've created, so it's telling us we have one new file, one insertion. So you could also do like Git status again to track what's happening. So you could see, yeah, so it's telling you like everything is like in the staging area. So what you can do now is like push to, so you push like from origin to like feature hello. But remember, okay, let's see. So you could see here, like we have only one branch. So it's like just one branch, but in our local, we have two branches. So here, what we do is like, we want to push to this new branch that we have locally. So what happens is when you try to push to a new branch that is like local, but not there in remote, so it creates it for you automatically on remote with the new changes. So you could see it has created the new branch. So you could see, so here it's telling you, you have this. So you could just check here. You could see, let me just refresh. Yeah, so here you could see like you have two branches now, one main and one feature, which is the new one you have. So you could just go into it and you could see we have this hello world here. You could see this is like the comment we made here in the commit message. And you could, if you want, you could check the file and you could see you have like this print statement here. So, okay, so let's see what next. So what next is like go to your GitHub repository and open a pull request. So as Doctor also mentioned, like with branching, you go to a new branch, create a new feature. After doing that, then you create a pull request. So the idea of pull request is like you want it matched to like the main or master. So your main holds your like main code, that is like the main running code. So you branch to create a new feature or something new entirely out of like what's existing. So now you want to add it as a feature to your code. So what you do is like at the top, just here, you could see like compare or create pull requests. So depending on, so here we are trying to create a new pull request. So you can add a title, something meaningful. So you could say maybe hello world, maybe script, maybe something short and just descriptive. Then here you could add some more information. So, but here I'll just be typing because of time. Then here, what you do now is like you create the pull request here. So you could see it's checking like if there are any conflicts with the main repository, because this happens a lot because you could create a new feature and it conflicts a lot with what's in the main. So it's often like does this checks, especially if you are working with a very large code base or some very well structured code base. So here, what happens after creating this pull request is someone looks at the pull request, then he merges. But here, this is my repository. So I have like authority over this, so I can look at the pull request myself. But when you're working in like some organization like Doctor has mentioned, so someone looks at the code, then yeah, that like your feature makes sense. Then what they try to do is like come here, then they try to merge your pull request. Then maybe add a few comments for you, or maybe tell you to add one or few things on the code, then like confirm match. So that's how it happens. So, but here it's like all my repository. So I have like, I could like look at the code, add code, then pull request, and it's easy. But in the real world, you create pull requests and someone reviews and tell you to add more changes. So after adding changes, if it's like good to be matched, then he accepts. So now we have matched the code of the new repository to main. So as instructed here, you would be, yes, so we've done this. And let's say briefly, we've also like done this and we reviewed the pull request, everything looks good. Then we merge the pull request, which is like this. So it has been merged and closed. So finally, what you are required to do is like delete the branch from GitHub. So here easily you could see like some like button here, you could just click on it and you could see it's like automatically deleted. So the good thing about Git and GitHub, it tracks everything you do. So every file you change, every commit you make, every deletion you make, so it's been tracked because anything can happen. You could delete a repository that might be, or a branch that's very important. So it keeps track of it just in case, you never know. So once we go back and check we could see we don't have the feature because we've already like added it to the main repository, the main branch here, which we have here. So you could then finally, we want to delete it in our local, which is this. So to delete the branch, what you do is this. So, okay, so what you do is this, git branch, then you do -d, then the name of the branch you want to delete. So which is feature hello. So if you do like small lowercase d, it's like normal deletion. If you do uppercase D with capital letter D, it's like forceful deletion. So maybe some errors might occur when you do this lowercase d, then you want to forcefully delete by force, then you use capital letter D. So you could see, okay, like telling us cannot delete. So yeah, so we could try to use, okay, so it cannot delete. Why? For one reason, because if you see we are, let me just show this much more clearer. So here, what we try to do is try to delete the branch itself, but the issue is we are on the branch. So it's more of like you are standing on a tree. I want to cut down the tree. So it's like quite bad. So what you want to do is like move away from the tree. So what we'll try to do is like move to another like branch or, okay. So here we've moved to main. So it's easy now to like delete the branch. So not fully merge. Yes, so you could maybe forcefully delete now. So you remember like we discussed like D is like try to delete gently. So if it doesn't want to delete gently, you could do capital D to delete forcefully. So you can see like we've deleted forcefully. Yeah, then you could like Git maybe status, everything is up to par. You could do like Git branch to check like the branch available. So you could see we have main. So we've deleted it from local and we've also deleted it from like the repository. So that's like majorly it for the deletion. So I think we are done with the exercises. So I'll just like answer a few questions, then go up to this like optional questions. So if we still have time and briefly discuss. So I'll just go over like the questions on the chat and see, but I might likely miss some questions. So if I miss anything, just feel free to maybe interrupt me afterwards, but I'm still like going up a bit just in case. So there's a question on license, which we answer. Okay. there's a okay, yes. So okay, so there's a comment by Doctor on like colored terminals, which is like ZHZ, which is like super cool. So definitely like try to use it as much as possible. So I would skip. Just let me see. So there's a question: when I make changes on VS Code and did the Git add and I'm having error. So try to sorry. Okay. So this person is having like errors when he tries to do like Git add. So I'm not sure if you could either copy the error message and paste on the like Telegram channel. I'm very sure like someone would be very happy to assist. So definitely do that. So I'm guessing either just check you are adding the correct file or you have Git installed and you are working on the repository. So then, okay, there's some raised hands. I'll just come to that, just quickly finishing answering these questions. So there is an image from, there isn't anything to compare. So, okay. So, so there is like a message from Umar Zakaria. So there isn't anything to compare. So it happens. So what you can do, there is like a command for, even if there's no changes, you could like commit a file, even there are no changes. So you could just commit an empty file. So I'm trying to pull the branch. Yes. So I'm not sure what okay. So you are trying to pull the branch from master to your feature. So if you check the direction of the arrow you shared, that's Umar Zakaria Muhammad place. So it's like from your master to your feature. So I'm guessing, so from your master to your feature, so maybe that's like maybe outside the direction of the maybe exercise, but I'm guessing what you have in the master is already in the feature, especially for this README file, because we didn't change anything in what we changed, except if you make any changes in the main and you want it to go into the feature. So check the two README files on your two branches. That's the README and the feature. So if they're exactly the same, so it can't do anything. So just confirm on that. But if you still have problem, just feel free to message on the Telegram. So I guess those are the major questions. Then there is one question from Salisu. Please go on.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I've seen that. Just my concern or what I need clarification is about. I've seen that we have like a Git push.
Yes.
You have pushed the changes. So suppose I am working independently on my particular project on my own. So after committing the changes and pushing the changes, so is it mandatory that myself I must accept the full, of the changes, to push it to the main, while working on my own, not with the team. I understand that if I'm working with the team, definitely my colleagues must like acknowledge to full, the request of the changes I've made. So in this case, if I am working alone, so it seems that I have to like work on that to like accept it on my own to pull it into the main before it like work well. That's what I need clarification of.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Like, yeah, working alone, you would do like, it's easy to just working, but like the idea of Git is, let's say, it helps in a collaborative setting. So if you are working independently, so it helps you. So the idea of like push-pull, it's more of like the idea of tracking. So one, let's say you are working locally and you have Git. So if you do those particular like methods, or maybe let's say Git add or Git commit, first it helps you track. But once you do like the Git push or Git pull, because anything happens, let's say today you're working on your laptop, maybe at home, and you made a commit at night, and let's say you have a different laptop at home. So these are like two different laptops. So when you try to do the push pull, this is just like a simple instance. So on your, let's say, laptop at home while working maybe in the night or anything. So when you do push pull and you send it, so it's like remotely there on the GitHub server. So once you go to work, so it's easy, you can pull what you worked on and you could continue working. So I would say like for independent wise, if you are like very comfortable like working locally, so 100% go for it. But if you know you like just in the case of anything can happen, so to your laptop, or maybe you work with multiple devices at once, so you could like, it would be good to like push or pull. So I'm not sure if that answers like the question.
Yes, sir. Very, very clear, doctor. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So there is, I think there's someone raising up their hand, but okay, let me see. I think James, please. Yes, I think.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is this: you created a branch and you
Yeah.
added hello world .py,
Yes.
and when you try to merge the two files, it says there's no contradiction. But there's a contradiction in the fact that there's a file added to the branch, but the main does not have branch. Why is it telling us there's no contradiction? I thought the very fact that an extra file was added to the branch should have actually pointed out that there's a contradiction. So why is there no contradiction?
So I would say there is no contradiction, because let's see, the file is not in main, so you could like easily add the file to main. So imagine like main like a blank slate, and there's a space in which you could just push that file into. So assuming like there is already a file on main, and maybe they are on like different, I don't know, they call them like timestamp or something. Let's see, I'm working on main and I'm also working on feature. So let's say I make some multiple changes on feature, and I make some multiple changes on main. So, and I make also some independent changes on feature. So you could check like there are different changes in these particular two branches. So once you try to merge, and maybe different timestamp, so once you try to merge, so they are like incompatible to each other. So I would say like the mergeability comes from compatibility. So if they are like compatible, like you could easily like move files or join files together, so it like easily match. So in this particular case, in main repository, so you don't have that hello world file. So it's more of like maybe just copy and paste. It's not there, so I can just easily paste it there. So there's no conflict there. So, but in the case where maybe someone has been working on main and he added his own, let's say, hello world file, and which had like some different timestamp, so maybe there you'll have like conflicts.
Okay, so you're trying to say that if it's the same file that changes have been made, like on the main, and it's different from what is on the branch, then it's going to point out that there's a contradiction. Not that independent files that are just coming in, like adding to the set. All right.
Yes, but not exactly. Just to add one more, let's say you could have like two different files. So let's say assuming you have hello world on your main, and you created a branch from that hello world for your new feature, and you edited it. So you won't have any mergeability issue, because like you are still, nothing changed from main. You still you just have like let's say some file, and I created a branch so I have that copy of hello world. So I made some changes. Okay, I think should this be better? Okay, just 1 minute. I think let me just. So where you have like mergeability issues is, so imagine, let's say I have, let's say my main here, and I have this, maybe I have, assuming this block here is a Python file, then I create some maybe new branch, maybe feature. And so if you create like a new file, you have like exactly what you have in your main. So assuming I'm working independently, and I add like this feature here, which is like maybe orange, and someone also is working on this main here. And what happens is when you try to match like these two, you can see like they are totally different. So that's where you have mergeability changes. So that's where you have mergeability issues. But in the case where, let's say no one is working here, so, and you want to match this here, so you could see like what you just need to do is like just put maybe this block here. So you are like merged, so it's easy. But in the case where like you are conflicting, maybe someone is working on like some file on main and you've done something different. So that's where like mergeability comes in. So you try to select like what part of the code in main do you want, or what part of the code in the new or feature branch you want. So that's where you try to do like you just try to like avoid the conflicts then. So yes, that's majorly it. Yes.
All right, thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. So I guess there's one more person or Mujahid, please. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, you're welcome.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Please, my question is regarding this, the name of the repository at
Yes.
Arewa DS Fellowship. Is
Yes.
it mandatory that whenever we are trying to commit or make changes, we need to make sure to repeat the name of the repository in the README space?
So the name, no, it's not the name of the repository. I think after creating your, what's the name? After creating the repository on Git, then you like, what's the name? You clone it. So I guess that ends majorly there. So repository, I think what you would be dealing more with is like the branch name and the rest. So,
Okay.
but I think, yes, please.
So because I can see from your screen, I can see you have been written Arewa DS Fellowship, Arewa DS Fellowship Git.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, is it this Arewa DL, then this Git here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, this Git here is from like my terminal here. So don't bother about this Git. So the thing is like if you create like the repository name, so once you clone it, it comes as a folder. So let me see. So this is like, so once you create like the repository name, so once you clone it, it comes as like a folder, except maybe you change it to something else. So you have this. So but you don't need to bother much about it or rename anything. So once you clone it, it comes with the name you set as the repository name. So yes.
Okay. Okay, sir, I understand your point. So, sir, here is your terminal.
Yeah, no, yes, this is my terminal. Yes, this is
Okay,
my
okay.
terminal. So my terminal like shows you, okay, so let's say I go to maybe another repository here, another like, so you see it has changed the name of the, so it's the
Okay.
terminal. So don't bother much about
Okay.
it.
I thought it was the README this thing.
No, it wasn't the README. It wasn't the README.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so there is, let me check. I think, okay, so we'll just quickly take the more questions in the next few minutes. Then let me see, just 1 minute. Let me see who. There's someone raising. Yeah, Amina, please.
Yes, sir. So my question is how to sync a repo.
Okay.
So syncing a repo means updating it in case there is an update in the main repository. So I want to ask, can you sync a cloned repository, or you can only sync a repository if you forked it?
Yes, so yeah, so it also, okay, I think we don't have time for those questions, but maybe probably another day. So yeah, I think it's nice you also point out this particular question, which is like super important. So the idea of, so cloning, what happens is when you clone, so you have like the copy of the repository on your local machine. So you could like perform changes how we did and create pull requests, and you send it to that pull request. So that in that case, you are syncing both repos, like both locally and remotely. So once you try to like fork the repo, so when you fork the repo, it's the idea of like forking a repo is like you have also the copy, but you have like the authority over the repo. And because when dealing with companies, or like let's say there's a repository from Google, once you clone it, so you have to always create pull requests, and someone has to see the pull request and like acknowledge that pull request before you can like equally sync the repo. So in our case, it's like our own repository, so it's easy. I create a pull request and I merge, so it's easy. Then let's say you really want that change and you can't wait, so you like fork the repo, then make the changes, then it becomes like your own repository. So it doesn't have any, once you fork the repo, it's like it doesn't have any, how will I say, any connection to the original repo. It has, but you have like more authority or power over a repo. You can do as you want. So it's like an independent copy of the repository. So you could always like sync either cloned or forked repo. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, you're welcome. Yeah. So I'll just go to like there are 2 comments in the chat. I'm not sure if it's a question. So there's a question from Ilyasu. Would you clarify the necessity of creating an environment for those of us who successfully install and still, so about environment, so environment is more of like, let's say you are working on a project, it's just to avoid like, okay, so how will I explain environment? So environment just make sure that everything you need is in that environment, and let's say every package or every software you need to run that particular code is on that environment. So it's the idea of dependency, so that you can easily share your code with other people and they can work with that environment. And one other importance of environment, it helps you to avoid like conflicts. So let's say you're working on a project that uses like Python 3.8, so you created that, and imagine you want to work on another project that uses maybe Python 3.11. So you could like create a new environment for that. So it kind of separates like, it kind of creates some kind of line in which how you work with like packages and versioning control. So that's the importance of like using this environment system like Conda, which you'll be introduced to, so which is like really key. So definitely like look into that. It will be very crucial, especially as you continue in your journey of Python, data science, and machine learning. So then, yes, so let me just check if there are any last question. Then so I'll take these last two questions. I think one is from Musa. So can we create a nested branch? If yes, I'm honestly not sure about nested branch, but please, I'm not sure. I don't think I've come across, but it might be possible. Honestly, I don't have an answer to it. But please, if you do find anything, definitely share with the group. But honestly, I'm not sure about a nested branch. But most things I've seen is just like branches, several stacks of branches. So there is a question of cloning Ariwa Data Science repository. Is it primarily to access? So I would say, I'm not sure in general for the cloning of Ariwa Data Science repository. So I guess it's like to give you access to repository and you could see the materials and maybe allow you to, I don't know if Doctor is still on the line, maybe he can answer the final.
Exactly.
Yes, please.
It's
Yes.
for, so the thing is, the repository sometimes is on internet, and our Nigerian people, you may not necessarily have internet every time, right?
Yeah.
So because for you to access the GitHub repository, you need to have internet. So when you clone it, so even if you don't have internet, you can be able to see everything on your computer.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor. Yes. So I guess that's majorly it. So I don't know, is there any?
Sir?
Yes, Mujahid, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
So I said, please, I have tried using my own terminal to run that command of git main, but it's showing me error.
Okay.
Like,
Command of git main. Can you?
Yes, sir.
Git add, okay, is it git branch main, or what do you want to do with git main? No, that's
yes,
not,
yes, sir.
sorry, this is
branch.
not. Okay, so if it's this is not the command. So if you try to do git branch main, what's the error? What's the error message it's telling you?
It's showing me git cannot be.
Cannot be.
Oh. It's going again.
So check, I would say maybe check two things. If your Git is installed and if you are in actually the repository of Ariwa DS Fellowship. So I think one of the major issues, even I faced the issue like earlier. So if you're not in the repository of the Ariwa Data Science, so you don't have Git initialized there. So make sure you are in the Ariwa DS Fellowship repository, or make sure you have Git installed on your laptop. So majorly that. But if you still face the same issue, definitely like screenshots. Just try to screenshot as much as possible. If you have any issues also to everyone else, maybe screenshot and send to the channel on Telegram so anyone can help you there. So
okay, sir.
So I think that's majorly it. So it's nice like hearing your comments and suggestions. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Mustapha.
Yeah.
So we are happy to have Mustapha to present these sessions. And I hope right now many doubts has been cleared. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we will end the session now here, Doctor. And
thank you, sir.
we see you in the next session in our office hour.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're always welcome. Anytime. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.